I don't know exactly what I just witnessed, but I'm pretty sure I just saw a giant monkey eat Cthulhu like he was spaghetti. This is some hype stuff. This is the stuff that hype is made of. This is where it's born. Before I get into this, though, I just really quickly want to say that I haven't read any reviews for this. All I know is that some people really like it, some people that don't really like it. And I think that I fall somewhere in the middle because I feel like that's what this movie does. It throws a bunch of styles and ideas at the wall and it just lands in the middle, and it comes for a very interesting film that feels honestly like a summer blockbuster in the middle of winter spring. Before going into this, honestly, my biggest worry that it was gonna end up being something like Pacific Rim. Don't get me wrong, I like some of the action in that movie. I think it's really pretty, but I think it's filled with some certified anime cheese, like the spray cheese just filled up to the brim with anime cheese. And that, in my opinion, for Pacific Rim led to some kinda lame characters. Now, in the case of King Kong, their characters are actually a little bit more balanced. But the thing is they have so many, they can spread it out and it can kind of balance itself out. The characters, they range from good, I guess we'll put the good on the left, to okay, that's enough for that guy, that's passable, to are you sleepwalking / were you miscast? And honestly, the two people who stood out the most as someone who really wasn't there or kind of miscast was sadly John Goodman and the guy who played Dr. Dre in the Straight Outta Compton movie. John Goodman was a little bit too mellow throughout it. I didn't feel any passion from his character or excitement for wanting to go and film these things that don't exist, because clearly that was part of his plan. And then Dre, was supposed to be some sort of goofy scientist guy. And whereas it worked in something like Pacific Rim with Charlie Day, because he can work with that material, this guy felt really out of place. And he was the character that was perpetuating this feeling that I had a few moments, for the first 45 minutes, where I was like, this feels kind of like Airplane right now. It feels like a parody, but it's not, because it's really serious at certain times, but at the same time, I know there's a giant monkey, but at the same time, it gets really stupid. And that's where, I start to get conflicted with this movie. I get that there's supposed to be parts that are funny, and some of those funny parts worked, but at the same time, are we supposed to find it funny that, the human characters are stupid at certain points in this movie? Because don't get me wrong, the first, 5 minutes, before the title comes up, that brought a tear to my eye. I loved every second of that. That was a huge middle finger to, the Godzilla that came out. It's this is how you slowly reveal a monster, by almost completely showing him, but then you don't. And that was really well done. But the thing is when the humans end up going, with all the helicopters and stuff, there's two really stupid things that stand out there. For one thing, I guess I can kind of look past it. It's a nice part where, they're flying their helicopters through a storm, and, Samuel Jackson's giving a speech, and it's kind of cool, but, at the same time, it's their helicopters look like they're this close to each other, and, there's a storm, and, they're kind of moving, but, I feel like they would have slammed into each other, because don't those things suck in? I don't know shit about helicopters, but it looked funky to me. But then we lead to that scene that's in the trailer of, Kong fighting with the helicopters, and, there's some really great parts, and I love that scene, but at the same time, the humans kill each other just as much as they try and kill Kong, and it's is that supposed to be funny that they're stupid? Because there's certain lines and certain parts where it's was that a joke? So it works because I can just look past it, but at the same time, it was dumb. This movie's really dumb. Who would have thunk it? A movie about a building size ape is stupid. And that's why I can really look past it and really enjoy the rest of the movie. in between humans and between like humans and creatures and vice versa, there's really nice choreography going on here, really well thought out stuff going on, and even to the point where they really want to one up all these other movies that we've been seeing recently. Like, this is definitely telling Godzilla to go to hell, and this is telling Pacific Rim, please have a seat. But that being said, as far as the action and all that stuff, it's the whole movie in general, it's totally beautiful. But like, these characters really weigh down the movie, and Samuel Jackson's drive of being crazy, it worked for me. Like, I can see it now working for everyone, but I didn't mind it. I thought it was cool. And John C. Reilly was pretty much the only one who had it figured out. Like, he was working well with his dialogue, and like, even though it was still pushing that like, this kind of feels like airplane feeling I was having, he still made it work, and like, you can tell that he was improvising a couple times, and it really like fit the movie very, very well. Overall, it moves at a brisk pace. It's almost 2 hours, didn't feel like it at all. I was never bored, but there's a couple parts where it's like either the acting wasn't like what it could have been, or like maybe the line was a little bit funky, but with a better performance, it could have held up. I think that overall, just to get this like comparison out of the way, and this is better than Pacific Rim, even though there's not as much character monsters, like the action in this is much more satisfying, and it's shot in a really clever way, and I really appreciated that. Overall, I can't give this like too much credit, because although it is beautiful, some of the CG in parts was kind of meh, and again, like, John Goodman was totally sleepwalking through this movie, and it just like, I didn't see it. I wasn't getting it from him, and my man Dre, he really felt like he was like supposed to be in a Friedberg and Seltzer movie. And just because I'm getting to the end of wrapping this whole spiel up, at the end, right before like it cuts to credits, and there's something really awesome, which I'll get to, it actually gets like maximum stupid. Like, for some reason, Kong, like, there was a few parts that they did where they showed him looking at, you know, the woman, and like, it didn't bother me. Like, it was stupid, so like, I was going with it, but it wasn't stupid like that throughout. But just with Kong and that one character was kind of okay, I guess, like, that's part of the lore, you gotta do it. But the ending, right before it ends, she falls in the water, and then he continues to fight, and then it goes back to the shot of her in the water, and then his hand comes in scooping up. While looking cool, it was still incredibly stupid. It's like, he doesn't know that. Like, that's dumb. It's dumb. I'm not going to explain that. That's stupid. And that was something that really pushed that feeling to, like, I guess, the surface totally of this like airplane parody-ish, I don't know why this is kind of silly feeling, was like really hammered in, was when she was saved by Kong at the end. I mean, obviously she was going to get saved, but I thought it was going to maybe be Loki who came in and saved her, who was just fine in the movie, just like most of the army guys. They were leaning on stereotype, but they were just fine. Anyway, just to end this thing, because it's been running too long, this is like a 7.5 out of 10. Like, I was happy I saw it in theaters, but like, it could have been used a bit more polished. At the end, they're kind of rushing to, you know, finish everything up. It's edited pretty smoothly, but like, this just feels like a couple different movies slammed together. Maybe if they would have had a little bit more time to do some reshoots and maybe cut some stuff out a little bit, it could have been better. But like, this is 7.5 out of 10. But like, let's get to the important stuff. After credit sequence. Okay, so before going into this, someone was like, ooh, they're bringing in the Monster Island, so I was like, alright, so Godzilla's gonna show up at the end. And before seeing this, I was really expecting that Godzilla was gonna show up on the island, and we were gonna see him throw fists. However, we did not get that, and if you're still watching and you don't want it spoiled, just turn it off. But what they do is they build up their SHIELD Corporation. I think it's called Maroon or something. I don't know. They have like a Maroon 5 logo. So they're at the Maroon 5 building, and they say like, well, that island never existed, but we have other things to show you. And they start to show you slides of like, who? Gojira. And then they show Mothra. and they show King Ghidorah or whatever, and then they show Godzilla and Ghidorah like, and it's all done in a what's it called? A cave painting. So it's all these quick cuts of these other characters, and the music's amping up, and then they cut away from Ghidorah fighting Godzilla, and it's like, yes. This is what I am so hype about, is that we are going to get a big, stupid monster universe, and they're gonna fight, and it's gonna be dumb. It's gonna be great. Thanks for watching. You've been Monkey with Podcasted.